dig this little light. Just for full disclosure, if you are watching this YouTube video from Sacramento, California, or someplace around Sacramento, just know I am not physically in Sacramento. I lived in Sacramento. I have addresses in Sacramento. In my history, I left to go off into the military from MEPS in Sacramento. So what I do is, as a previous IT professional, that's how I mess with the algorithm. I say in places where I've been energetically, and then maybe people that are kind of like me in those places, they'll find my videos. And I've been all over them. Even when I grew up in Redding, we would go down to Sacramento because that's how the program begins. The state capital, California, where us energetic sensitives that like things like choo-choo trains and steam trains and engineering. They have the train museum in Old Town Sac. I remember that big old candy. We'd take buses down to Sacramento for field trips, and we never had money for extra. Somehow I got to go along, but like I got the crappy free you know. That was my meal for the day, was whatever somebody else wanted me to have, share with me. So there's a lot of, you know, I got my first DUI in Sacramento. I was with a co-worker. I worked with that Lions on Watt and Folsom. I also, if you go up north farther on Folsom, there's a Shell gas station right where Interstate 50 goes over. I used to work at that Shell gas station in Sacramento. I used to work at that Rite Aid in Sacramento on Watt and Arden. Is that place still there? Dude, I worked the overnight and would stock shelves and shit. And like one of the managers there, Ian, I think he picked that shift specifically because it was so dead at night, right? But we would get things, and we'd be like, where's homeboy at? And he would be back. We'd get a shipment of the Matchbox cars, and he would be back just like in a zone, going through finding all the collectibles. Finding all the good ones. People that stack the deck and cheat, you know, take advantage away from it. Just all that stuff is coming to an end. So I called today's conversation. I'm hooked on phonics. I have an addictive personality, and I call it as I see it. So today I call it Videmus Omnia. It's Latin. And it used to come on a patch that looked like this. That's where I got the words from. Videmus Omnia. And I used to wear this patch. And then every few often, they want you to rotate your patches. It's kind of how they cover up history, because they don't want people to know this stuff. But I'm a big mouth. They made me do things I didn't want to do, and so I gotta come clean here. So what this means, because I worked for, if you look it up yourself, it's called the 55 MXS. It's the 55th Maintenance Squadron. Ask them, they'll tell you how they're the greatest maintenance squadron in the whole planet, world, universe. They're a bunch of Barney Fifes is what they are. Because Washington, D.C. and Hollywood, they get the same budgets, And they both exist to do the same thing, and that is to create make-believe. A contrived reality, so every Joe Public feels like they're a part of something, that they're a part of nothing. They think that they're going to get an advantage out of a bunch of frat boy, selfish, butt buddy sports fans. Anyway, so what it means is, it's a Latin word, Videmus Omnia, and it means we see everything. Okay? So people in our own country, because it's not the bad one, it's not all of them, it's just the bad ones, right? The good ones are the ones that will not allow such behavior. I don't know where they are. I've looked for them my whole life. They kind of evolve into the go along to get along. So when I was at Offutt from here. They gave me this little plaque, so if I ever forget how long I was there, it says it right here. You get all this cool shit when you sign up to go off and kill people in places we have no business in the name of freedom and democracy. That's kind of stupid, isn't it? It's kind of like believing we went to the moon in 1969. Military intelligence is an oxymoron. It's like national security. So I was there from the 24th of July, 2001, just in time to be set up production for 911, to get everybody in place, get them comfortable, all set up in their dorms, and then boom, 9/11 happens. But us weird SB kids that grew up on PBS, everything I needed to know I learned from PBS in the 70s and 80s, and that, my friends, is a controlled demolition. And I called it. I was like, dude, they're gonna make me be a part of. They would be like, Marge, shut up, because I'd walk around the shop and I'd be like this. I'd be like this with my 55th MXS hat, and I'd be like, they're gonna make me go do some bullshit. They're going to make me go do some bullshit and be a part of killing people that don't deserve to die in places that we don't belong. And that's exactly what they did. You know why? Because what people don't know, because they all call it national security, and then they brag about, that they go over there and pay themselves tax-free hazardous duty pay for us being the asshole, so they can put on their promotions and their little buttons, another one, and get their sign-on bonus, and go over there and say, we do it all for the right reasons. And it's also, we come back here and like, us enlisted that are out there turning wrenches and stuff like that are just like, because they don't have like you have mechanically minded, but it's kind of different than book smart. It's like a different part of your brain. But I'm one of those weirdos that uses both parts of my brain, and I'm exercising my brain all the time so I don't lose this stuff. Because they gave me 8 anthrax vaccines, so I gotta work harder to want to. If I want to live on this earth, I gotta work harder to prove that I do. So I gotta work harder at it. So I'm one of those freaks of a scientific beaker lab. Or one of those like those people that they try to make you really mean and like shoot people. Like you hear a song, it makes you so mad, it makes you sad, it sends you on this trajectory to cause harm. But I'm all about good orderly direction. You don't cause harm. You don't hurt people. Thou shalt not kill. And so what I put together is a whole big picture of what America is, and it has friends in other lands that are also part of the production, the contrived reality. And Looking Glass, the mission that I supported with the pushing of the button. See, it's under the guise of the atomic bomb. I don't even believe from my experience in the military that atomic bombs even exist. Where I was at Offutt, I had to work out at the gym every day where they modified the Enola Gay. They modified the Enola Gay where they went over to Iwo Jima and dropped the bomb and blah blah blah. Right? Just more bullshit. Freaking some men say sit around the table and they write a script and they say this is how it's gonna be. This is how we're gonna tell the American people it is, and they'll believe it because they're so dumb. And that's what their attitude is towards the American people. Because they're arrogant and they're fraternity boys and they're assholes and they're drunks and cokeheads, but they're all the ones that the rules don't apply to them. So they're EMPs. That's what they are. That's what atomic bombs are. They're EMPs. They're energy to protected. So they go. I heard first what happened to what they test them on people. You got people that have no souls, and they create things. They're basically, when they were kids, they used to fry ants with magnifying glass, and then they got themselves in positions of power and authority, and they created, they, in their mind, they decide who the enemy and who the evil are, but they're really, it's them. The only threat out there is a reflection of the conflict that people have within themselves. The only threat that I have out there in the world is if I am willing to engage with things that are threatening. And I'm not willing to do that. I just soon clown them. And if I lose my life over clowning somebody, well, I guess New Mexico is truly the land of the stupid cousin, and oh well. Whatever. But they've been, okay, think of it like this. I'm going to propose a poem, because I was a mechanic in the military, and then I was like, I love troubleshooting, I love figuring out where the discrepancy is, what makes something function, and then not, whether it's a human body, and then I went to college for computers, okay? So my brain works like a computer. I just can, fix the hardware part of things too. I like to know, I'm multifaceted. It's my Scorpio moon. And so I put together that when they create instruments that are finely calibrated to frequencies, that instrument doesn't know if it's listening to a song on this or if it's comprehending a thought from here. Okay? So they go around the United States and have been for years under the guise of national security, and they're eavesdropping on people that are gathering. Or they're just listening to the conversations that they're having. And then they'll throw something. They'll throw a little ripple out there just so people will stop talking about what they're talking about and look at that thing. Look at that thing over there. Did you see what happened? And then they blah, 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 all this stuff. And that takes people away off their center. And when people are off their center, they spin more. They're off kilter. They don't feel good. So they're trying to do external things like drink alcohol, take drugs to make themselves feel better. It's to their detriment. It is completely to their detriment. See, I went the way of the system and I won awards. I did big things in the military, but the military it's a game. It's a different part of fraternities. It's all a club, and I can't stand clubs. I grew up watching Rockford Files. The machismo, might is right. Listen to the man because the man knows. You know how many times I've come across men to try to offer to help them fix what is broke in their vehicle, and they can't do it themselves? But they're the man. What is that? What is the difference between a man and a woman? One's inverted. One is one's an invert. One's an extrovert, essentially. Because I've seen plenty of women that have more masculine energy than most men. I have more testosterone in me than most men have in them at my age. What does that say? What does that mean when I go to my labs at the VA and they do my work? You know what Active Directory is? It's what they use in big companies, organizations. I worked at Creighton University, and when I worked there, they were trying to make a deal with Google, and Google would say, okay, we'll take care of everything. Just switch over. Just sign here, and we'll take care of all your EDU email needs. And Creighton wouldn't do it, because Creighton knows that once you relinquish your data control, it's no longer yours anymore. It doesn't belong to you. Like, I have relinquished creative control a number of years ago. What's up? Because every time I say I consent to use this app, they can use whatever all my pictures. I got 70 something thousand photos in my, but if they want to train some in fake intelligence, they can do that. That's a nice name. I'm Marge, I'm a heyOka. And what's a Mandela effect? You ever know an old person? I always listen to the old people when they talk, because they talk about what's going on, you know, and I'm just a kid listening, so I'm soaking it up. And I remember meeting one time this old dude that worked at a factory, and he explained how, like, they have the actual product and knockoffs. They're the same product. They are just changing the label on the product. And then they distribute it to different parts of the country under different labels. And people are like, oh, I have that. It's by so-and-so. It's always to create division. America the entire nation is a psyop. Santa's a psyop. We are all conditioned and trained to believe and live our lives to serve things like the NFL when it's fake, and the basketball that's fake, and the Hollywood that's fake, and the Washington D.C. that's fake, and the churches and the religions that are all fake, that are all exist to get people to say, hey, if you look over here and look at this little shiny carrot thing, you're not going to be over there living your own life. And that's what they want us to do, the archons. The people that want us to use all of our energy every day to feed their little beast system, so that we can be comfortable and safe in a world that only designates that you're unsafe. But I'm only unsafe if somebody comes into my house and tries to, because that's when I'm unsafe. But we're always told that something out there is going to get us. Well, I do live in New Mexico, and there's a lot of generationally, they like Epstein hair, but that's what happens when people they relent their connection to spirit, God, source, creator. Those things that say, don't be into butt stuff. Don't drink too much. Don't excess is not good. Extremism is not good. When you are too into something on this earthly plane, and you don't ever get quiet and connect to source that tells you, you know, to be a peaceful being. If people don't have that connection, this is the world we get. I get it, it's evolving. I get it, it's changing. I live in such a beautiful place, and I've started doing things different. And because I've changed my attitude, I don't know, it's a trip. I'm a lot more fun in real life than I am on these videos. That is for sure. But I go out in the world, and I'll be like engaging with somebody's asshole energy that's, you know, taking up space in the freaking stand in front of the coffee, you know, by the water fountain dispensary. And then I'll be bebop, and then I'll leave that behind me, and I'll go over here, and I'll be bebopping over here, You know, hey, big guy, can you get that down off the top shelf? Because evidently you got the rest of my legs. Homeboy, I said, how tall are you, 6'4"? He's like, close, 6'3". I was like, dang. I said, he's like, how tall are you? I said, 5'3 3/4". And he's like, whoa. I said, I know. I said, I take up a lot more space than that because I'm only small in stature. My energy is vast. And he just laughs at me. And then I go, and then I leave the grocery store. And this little old lady walks up to me. Not, when I say little old lady, I mean like maybe 70s, you know. And she's spry, little itty bitty, tiny little fairy lady like thing. And she comes bebopping up, and she's like, "Hey!" And I was like, "Hey," because at first I thought maybe like, do I know her from someplace? And she's like, and then I'm trying to get out of the way because we're kind of blocking traffic. So I step up, and she's like, "Hey, I was following you around the store," and I was like, "Hey, that's kind of a weird thing to do." And she's like, "No, I mean, I said, I'm just kidding. I don't mean it. I'm just kidding." And she's like, "I just want to tell you," and she leans in real close to my ear, and she goes, "You are adorable." And I was like, "Why, thank you. What a very nice thing to hear somebody say about you. That's right. I hope you have a good day. Peace." And then she went on her way. I tried to give her a sticker because I give these stickers out to people. Straight people like rainbows too. I'm autistic. They said in Union. What was that? The Union, Shasta Lake Union School District said I was autistic in 1987. That just means they put me in the retarded class, the remedial class. But then in some places I was in AP. So it didn't make sense. Because I was good at English, but then from one teacher to the next, the structure would have variances because they teach people different things based on their education. You know, that's why, I think resumes and stuff like that are so lame. Because what makes a good resume? Because I saw people get hired with trash resumes. So why is it that I never got hired because I had a really good one, you know? That's because of Active Directory, that we're given permissions at birth based on our number, and it puts us in the advantage or the less advantaged in whatever situation. And that could be intangibles, that could be in the earthly realm, it's also in the spiritual realm too. Because when you have generations of your bloodline that keep doing weird butt stuff and keeping secrets and all this stuff because they don't want the rest of the world to know what and who they actually are, you know, that's what's happening now is people are figuring it out. It's Capricorn season. Soon we're going to be in Aquarius season. It's supposed to be for community, but I've known Aquarians, and evidently the community that they support, the ones that I know, they're in balance. That's what things like alcohol and drugs do. They throw people off in balance. It keeps them in their ego. I'm just going to do what I want whenever I feel like it. What kind of life is that? There's what would happen? Mom would not be here. Mom would have probably died years and years ago if I would have done what my brother, the big important lawyer in Sacramento, California, told me to do. Jerome A. Hessick. "Hey, Jerry, when Mom dies, do you want me to tell you that she's gone, or are you already telling people that you work with that she's dead? Let me know, Mr. What did you say? Anybody could look you up on the internet because you're that important? So I can keep track that you make $240,000 a year, but you told me that Mom's my problem? And you also told me that I should just, when she goes out for a walk, throw all of her shit out on the front door step and change the locks? See, because the dude slammed her head in the car door. And then shortly after that, he hit her. My brother hit her. The same, at this, like, mom was still walking with her cane, and dude freaking hit her with the, she even said he hit me with this part of his hand. Because that's what those little Virgo bitches that are, you know, start out in the Army Guard, and they get to write the script. He wrote the script for the state of California. He was literally a program. Now he's a lawyer, and they just write the program in a different way. And I know how their cheating, lying fucking minds work, because I had to grow up with them, and how they literally stack the deck. But see, he was the 5-year-old playing chess, but I was the 2.5-year-old playing chess. Over and over and over again, just trying this, that, and the other thing. So that's all that they do, is they play chess, is they figure out what scares people, because when people are scared, they're easier to control, you know. They talk about how they're the, you know, like, oh, I'm going to end your life, you know. I'm going to end your career. I had freaking a girl I liked when I was in the military. She had she cut some chick's hair, and then her chick was a SP in the military, and she had him call me, threaten me that there was an investigation against me, blah, blah, blah. You know, yelling, doing all the theatrics, so I'd be like, oh my God, I'm going to be in trouble, and then I figured out that that's all they do. Their flex is just to get people off kilter, because they're scared that they're going to be found out. And so I figured out how it's a racket, how the military police, I'm not talking about their special forces, those are the good actors. And I know this, my brother, he's too self-centered. He can feel what self-centered fear keeps people, it's a frequency that keeps people stuck. And so when they're sensitive and you tune into other people's fear, people aren't going to move forward. And I move forward anyway. I've had to go on a lot in my life without people I cared about, because I'm moving forward and they just don't want to. What am I going to do? I can't stay back there with them. So, I won't stay back there with them. You know, they condition people based on the Why is it that the first two things that people are asked when doing any sort of business, it says date of birth? Because the world is run by astrology. We're manipulating, you know? Like, I think about how many people they're given power because they're psychologically known to have inferiority complexes. So they know that if they're given power and under the right conditions, they can make decisions over there. You know, they're just, and I describe how looking glass, like, think of a mirror, okay? You have, or even a screen on your phone. I drop the screen shatters, okay? So people in this part of their country, they're given that piece of glass, all right? Like the looking glass that people perceive and look through, that looking glass where that little see-through, we're going to alter people's perception. So we're going to break the glass, and then we're going to give these people a piece of the glass so that they can just see a little bit of it. And then over here, they'll have security clearance, so they get a little piece of it too. Right? But you always have the support staff, like I was an age. And we have to be a part of all of, that's how I put the pieces together about how America, like Washington, D.C. and Hollywood, they are same. They both are groups of people that sit around tables, and they designate how things are going to be. And then they tell the media, tell them this is how it is. Tell them this happened. Tell them that, you know, but Everybody knows this the third building. Like, the truth is out there, and when people are true seekers and we get quiet and meditate, we tune into what these truths are. And I just put together all the bullshit I've seen in my whole life, knowing how the cheaters are in positions of power. Like, one of the biggest scumbags I ever had the misfortune of coming across, his name's Bobby Coyle. Thank God that man never procreated. Thank God. His bloodline needs to stop in his sacks, because he's a ball sack sucker. It's because of dudes like him, and that he did the same thing. He is, how many men in the start like this? Okay, how many people in the forces start like this? In some capacity, they're mad at their mom, or they're mad at, or some woman embarrassed him in his life, and then therefore every strong woman is an enemy in his mind. And so what does he do? He finds a girl in his 40s that's in his 20s, because she'll still get with his program. And he'll test it and do things like getting happy endings at the massage parlor, you know. And they go in the military. You know how they get in the military? Because they're the second lowest test score on the military entrance exam. Can you believe that? I said that to my recruiter when I went in, because when I went in, I was 25. I was old. I wasn't a dumb 18-year-old kid that, you know, I'd be like, I was against the wall. I was in a bind. I had to go to college, you know, and I wasn't so I had to get my 2 degrees in 6 years, and blah, blah, blah. I was like under the crunch. Well, I didn't do it, you know, because like I needed to feed my family today. Mom was at that point could still take care of herself for a while. 7 years she took care of herself, until I was like, Ma, you know, they got you in a bind and a loan you can't, you know, she only had $936 income, but some bank man said, oh, sure, you qualify. Your payment's $735. So my mom wasn't eating, and she came to live with me. She did good, though. She did a lot better than anybody else would have done had a dude slammed their head in the car door of a 64 Chevy Biscayne. So anyway, I had responsibilities and other people to take care of by myself. And so when the recruiter said, don't judge the military by basic training, that's not the real military. And then he said, now that I think about it, don't judge military by tech school, that's not the real military too. And he goes, you can't really take your first duty station into account, because that's kind of like a, yeah. And then I'm like, I said, can you answer me this? What is the real military? And that's when I started putting together a picture of what the real military is. And I'm just like, dude, these people, they're out there playing scary soldier. And then they're put on sound stages where they could look just like they do in Hollywood. It's no different. Because at home, these guys can't change a tire, but I'm supposed to believe they're my protectors of freedom and democracy, when 29% of New Mexico can't read. It's more dangerous than Colombia here. Like, and it's everywhere. It's the whole United States is a third world country, because that is what the program is to do. So we can, you know, just give them enough room to hang themselves. Let them just do whatever they want, and then they'll, you know, then we'll come in and save them from themselves, and then we'll rebuild the place with our butt buddy brothers from Israel, the wall kissers, and all the weird storylines that they have us believe because it's written on a page and they want to control us. You know? That scumbag dude, he went all the way up the ranks because of nepotism. He should have been in prison. He's probably friends with Epstein, bugs like that. But what they do is they go to AA, and then they tell their fucking pervy sponsor, you know, like, this is all the bad stuff I did. And they're like, okay, son, I absolve you for your son. Well, sponsor dick, that ain't you. for you to absolve. Like, he should go to jail. Like, how many women in the early 2000s, young women, did that fucking predator seek out and pull the same move where he take the young girl back up to his hotel room that AA flips the bill for, the people that have groups in AA, and then, like, she comes out of the bathroom, he's holding his eggplant in his hand, because he could tell the ones that are to get down and dirty, but she's trying to class up and is like, whoa, whoa, what do you got going, you know? And then he breaks down with the, I'm sorry, I'm sick, I'm a sexual addict, I can't help myself. When men like him my whole life called me dumb dyke bitches, you know, hoe bag, skank, all this stuff, I never had a happy ending in a massage. Ain't nobody in my life ever came out of one room and then saw me with any part of my junk in my hands. But they're groups of men that have this mentality because they can do what they want. Because they're stupid, and then they give them guns. So they go around going, I can do what I want. I can do what I want. And they do. They go around and they travel to Hawaii and they pay homage to this bullshit ritual at the Pearl Harbor and all this, you know, paying homage, and they dress up in their little clown outfits and they go out to their little mummers parade, the gunners and the mummers, and they're all about their little secret clubs and their little secret society where they're doing weird shit to kids and goats and all things in between. And then they praise themselves and give themselves awards and say they're peaceful men. And they're, you know, all they care about is ejaculating men. And it's just, that's America. That's what America is. It's a bunch of, America's built on butt stuff. And if you don't go along with their pervy, freaking ancestral, nasty, disgusting ways, then you will be punished. Seems like that is the punishment. That is the punishment that's going on with all that stuff. People, I know how to associate because I had so much, and I meditate. So I used to dissociate on command. Now I do it at my own will, you know, and that's like, and they don't like it because I have stayed in control. That I have, and you know how there's ways that designate that people have, that the ego death has happened. Okay, and that is, like, I have 2 DUIs on my record. One is back in 1990, February 22nd, 1997, 8. God, it's so blurry now. Anyway, so, and I got it because I was with the pretty girl and she had already gotten a DUI, and I said, well, I'll drive because if I get in trouble, I won't get as much trouble as you will because you already have one. So I got my first DUI in Sacramento, downtown, on a rainy night because she's a standard stick shift, and it was rainy, and I had been drinking. I didn't know her car, and I squealed the tires when I was trying to go, and that caused attention to me. So I went to jail that night, and then I got one because I do it whatever I wanted. You get a taste of freedom. You see what people are when they do get the freedom that they want. Like, you see what they've been working towards. When you let people do whatever they want, it's freaking, and they don't have discipline in their heart, it's freaking weird what they, like, it's gross. And then they make movies about it. And then if somebody accuses them of the behavior, their legal defense is like, well, that's a crazy thing. That doesn't happen. It just happens in the movies. You know, and how many movies are really, you know, snuff films in disguise? A lot of them. Anyway. So, and then the second one I got when I first got to Offutt before 9/11. So it was 11/11. No, it was after 9/11. So it was 2 months to the day I was supposed to be in a Veterans Day parade, and I was getting called to the carpet by the commander. Getting yelled at. I can't, but dude had probably a bottle of fucking whiskey in his bottom drawer that he fucking takes pulls on all day. That's what it's like. Everything is such a, it's so do as I say, not as I do machismo, you know? Like, that dude was ginormous. Like, he hasn't been in a fitness standard in I don't know how long, but he's telling me that I'm not compliant. Anyway, that's what they do. They're just all actors. They're just all play this role, and if you don't, because I used to clown them all the time, and then I'd get in trouble for just being a clown because I'm getting people to see that we're just all playing roles. And how is a job title as an age mechanic that I was, aerospace ground, how is that different than when you go to a play and they tell you, they have that paragraph that tells you what your role is and how you're going to act? It's not any different. It's the same thing. A job description is, and then you go to a class and they tell you like the syllabus of what you're going to learn. That is your job description. You are supposed to become the person that believes these things that that person tells you. That is the program. You know how I'm going to live my life? I'm going to go out today. I make green butter. I call it butter. I'm going to make caramel with that butter. And then I'm going to do things like listen to, fuse it with frequencies that heal people's bodies so that calm down enough that when they don't go out there, they think that the whole world's against them. Because it's not the whole world. It's just people that have tuned into a frequency to desire that if they take from you, that their energetic field will grow. So that is my experience of how the United States creates different images, and they tell these people over here how the reality of how things are, and then they tell these people over here a different story, and then it's like taking cats that haven't eaten and throwing out a rotisserie chicken, and then just like watch the unuseful idiots attack themselves, fight over it. They'll hurt themselves, and then that's okay because then the veterinarian gets paid. And if one dies, that's all right. You know, we don't care. But like, you know, like all that, we'll just create a system where we can siphon the energy from that. I am super excited to see, basically, because back in 2020, when I was saying that was the year of clear vision, you're going to see what people are really made of. Like, give people the chance to do whatever they want. What are they going to do? And then I saw how most people sat around, got lazy, got heart disease, got diabetes, got this, got that, played video games, didn't do much anything to help their neighbor. And now all these people, like the end of Cocoon, when the old dude went and tried to save his wife, and they sucked all the juice. It was a fountain of youth, but he had to run his mouth, and then everybody came in and sucked the fountain of youth dry, and then they all took off, and then homeboy's like, but what about me? You were selfish, and that's what you get. And that's what the whole world's getting right now, is you were selfish. I wasn't selfish, because I never put mom in a home. I about killed myself to keep five little dogs and my cat and mom out of a home and homeless off the street. And I just said, God, whatever you put me through, I'll take it as long as I can keep them cool when it's hot, warm when it's cold, and have enough food. And God allowed me to do that. And now I'm down to one dog. I still got my cat. I want to get another little kitty soon. And mom's still happy and content and healthy. And I kept my word. and I'm surrounded by people on planet Earth. Like, when's the last time, like, you told somebody that you were going to do something and you didn't want to do that thing? That thing sucked. Like, helping people move. That's a good example. Back when I was in the AA, I'd go to the Sunday morning meeting, and everybody after would meet at it. They'd have flyers, they'd have donuts, coffee, all that stuff. And then all these people agreed to meet at this place. And I've seen people move whole ass houses. Mom, dad, 3 little kids, 2.5 hours from one side of Omaha to the next. It's getting people to agree to inconvenience themselves, to go outside of themselves, and then do something, what's up, for other people to make their life better, because that is how energy flows. People are always talking about energy. Money's energy. I'm like, well, what fuck is good as money when you got a number in your bank that's growing, but you got people on your streets that fucking their flesh is rotting because they don't have access to a clean shower where they can wash their ass and put on clean socks and shit like that. See, because the people that are in charge, they have never taken care of anybody else themselves. They would not, because people like me, we're not put in positions of power because we know how to take care of people in practical ways that's good for them, and then that breaks their system. Then they can't do their butt parties in the back room and then give themselves little awards for going along. You know, remember there's a show, the Great Space Coaster? It's on in the 70s, 80s. Great Space Coaster. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's no news is good news. That's what this guy reminds me of. No news is good news. But see, they thought that they were making me love this thing because it's an eagle, freedom, blah, 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 right? But what they didn't know is that when I was 15, 16 years old, I was doing this shit. So 1989, I was 15. So I started doing, because Mom always said, use your energy wisely. So I was drawing, I was painting stuff like this. Before I had their dumb little fight drop bombs. And then, this is not bad. That's pretty dope for a 15-year-old girl. But see, I always had to take care of Mom. And I have the personality that if I'm going to go in the zone and paint, I can't be bothered. Because it's when I get pulled out of that no play space. Because I'm channeling, I'm tuning into all kinds of frequencies. Past, present, future, all at the same time. Incongruence. I like my trees. You know? So, I love nature and the real eagle deal. And then, so this stuff, these are like paperweights. These are to say, yeah, I played your stupid little reindeer games, and they gave me awards, and I got little parting gifts and bullshit. But how does that make America better today? It hasn't. And then I got this part of my brain that does this stuff. This I came up with when I was, the same time I came up with Straight People Like Rainbows Too. It's an exclamation point and a question mark, and they share the same dot. Because I always been really excited, and I never knew why. And then I figured out why. It's because I don't have any earth in me. And so I just fly off hither, dither, and yon. I'm not grounded to this planet. I don't got to do nothing these other NPCs do. I don't got to... Like, I've been thinking a lot about Peg Martin. She died some years ago. And I have all these pictures of her that I've taken of her because when she was my grand sponsor. I had a couple sponsors, and they were her sponsors. She was my grand sponsor, and I would go to these spiritual retreats in places like the Joy Holland Center outside of Ashland, Nebraska. That place is where the important people go. And I would love to have a place like that. And because you have different levels, you have one place where people gather in the kitchen and you eat, you know, you walk down, and then you have like the hotel place, like, you know, and then over here you have cabins, and then out here there's like a team building obstacle course, you know. And so I got to hang out. One time I met this lady, she was freaking, I think she's probably long since dead, but it was such a trip because this woman, I would watch her interact with other people, quietly watch. I'm Scorpio moon. And this broad would freaking acted like she was 8 years old. And I started putting together a picture how basically we return to the innocence of what we were when we began. And if we discard that connection to spirit, that innocence is absolved back then. And that's why you have little kids that like pull wings off, like they don't have that connection to spirit that says don't cause harm. So they're doing, or if they have it, they're implementing their ego, easing God out to their will, and they're like they're killing things. They're taking the life just so they could see that life leave. And then you put and then now you got all these guys that are on these positions of power that still have that mentality. It never left because they never took the time to discipline themselves to get quiet and connect to spirit. Because whenever they get quiet, then they start hearing how you shouldn't have done that thing. You shouldn't have done that thing. That's rad. See, that's solutions. That's hella dope. See, and I'm always thinking about the hearing impaired, not thinking that one day I was going to be hearing impaired, because Mom's adoptive mother, Margaret, she was hearing impaired, so we would have to call. That's probably another like frequential like likeness that you and I have, because Margaret, who I was named after two Margaret. See, I would, if I had a kid, best thing I would never do is name them after somebody within the family, because that continues the trajectory. And they're never allowed to be their own person because they're always compared to something else. But so I'm compared to like Mom's adopted mom, and I had an Aunt Anya, who was like some witch in the Eastern Star cult. And you know, and I take after Mom. I'm about good orderly direction and all that stuff. And so but Margaret was hard of hearing, so we would have to call like an 800 number and then tell the lady on the 800 number to call Margaret, and then Margaret would type things on a computer that showed up on the TV, but then the operator could see what we were typing, what Margaret was typing, and then read it back to us. So they have means and ways to help people communicate. They just don't, that's what they're trying to do with the whole Mandela effect / breaking of this mirror, and then just giving, you know, the Pacific Northwest this piece that says, you know, this is how history is. And then they take another piece of the same broken mirror and they'll give it down to like the South, and then they'll be like, but this is how history was. And so there's never a true account, because they're moving cups or pots on a stove, rearranging, so people are never given the whole. Like, I'm sure that freaking, like Biff is what I call, I can't even say president. Like, they're just titles that people give themselves because they've always felt entitled to. Because they feel like they deserve things. Because that's what their ego tells them. If you're a good little boy, you'll get the thing. How? Like, look in the last 5 years. Give people enough rope to hang themselves and they'll choke on it. I never thought I would see, like, they show commercials on Roku and social and stuff like that, and like the actors and the actresses they're like grossly obese, and I will never buy a product that is endorsed by somebody that doesn't care enough about themselves to take care of themselves. And all these cheater drugs, glamour drugs that people are using to lose weight, there's consequences to the softer, easier way. There's consequences. I had to lose weight the natural way. I had to become healthy the natural way. Yet people take shortcuts and then think, ooh, I get all the benefits that, taking the shortcut. And that's not how it happens. That's not how life is. Ooh, it's 9:30. I wonder if Mom's starting to wake up. Starting to wake up, Mom? Yeah, a little bit? Yeah. We're going to do scrambled eggs. Yesterday I had a badass tri-tip barbecued, smoked, not barbecue, tri-tip sandwich for breakfast with hatch green jelly cheddar and pepper jack cheese. I said pepper cheese, I forgot pepper jack. So I posted a video of it last night. It was dope. So anyway, things are changing where we live, huh, Mom? We're about to hit the road and put up videos of me and Mom traveling around and taking some sights in northern New Mexico, because I see a future, since we like it here, and since the weather does, I think we're probably just going to end up sticking around here. It's easier than moving across country. And then, this place is a place that people love to come. They put so much effort and energy to coming here to do less important things. So I want to invite other people on that come across my radar on social media and do like my own kind of conference. You know what I mean? Like invite people that I don't have to like them necessarily. That's the thing. We people really need to get over the misconception that you have to like everybody you have to work with. It's just not how it is. You got to be principled. You got to be decent. You can't be shitty. You can't go in and tell them they're like the shit stain on the fabric of society, or ask them all the time if they are in fact the product of siblings. No, these are things that you cannot say to people. However, we start connecting these dots for the layman more, and they're likely, yeah, Neil Diamond coming to America. Yep. And I grew up with freaking, but what's funny? Like, John Denver's a psycho. Okay? You want me to tell you the story about what I found from John Denver back from years ago? Like, if you look up John Denver, I can't find a story about it now. But if you look up John Denver, you'll see that his father was a high-ranking officer in the United States Air Force. All of them are. Jim Morrison, all of them are. Like, who do you think promotes the concerts? Who flips the bill? The military. Get the kids to do nothing, and then they will never revolt. They're like, Dad's, Jimmy's favorite, but Dad, I hate you, Dad. What you're for? It's all bullshit. It's all of it. America is such bullshit. And so, homeboy, I couldn't stand Jim Morrison. So, a story that I came across is that when John Denver's dad when John Denver went out to California and he decided, I'm not going to come back. And I think he came from New Mexico. I think John Denver was actually born in the same place that the moon landing was contrived from, now that I think about it. Can't remember for sure, but anyway, I'll have to verify that to be true or not. And so, his dad was so pissed, he went and took one of the freaking jet planes and flew it across the country and said, F that, you're coming home with me. Do you think that he was authorized to bring his use a government? They all do it. It's their shit, dude. It's their stuff. They do whatever they want. My horoscope today. Mental acuity is increased. You are purpose driven to succeed. Dedicate this time or anything that requires mental work or concentration. I have a whole bunch of laundry I have to fold. I hate laundry folding it. Well, I got a bunch of these handled totes that I'm going to pack it away. Make things nice and neat. I try to anyway. So what was I saying? Oh, I was going to look that up. I was going to look up John Denver. Country road. Like, love America, love America, love America. So whatever America does, America's never the bad guy. Okay? Just give him Santa Claus. Santa Claus is psychotic too. John Denver. And the whole way he died was so weird. Because he self-willed. He flew a plane that he wasn't off the right. He just did what he wanted. Because Daddy always did what he wants. So he just learned, don't you know who I am? It's there. Oh, Roswell. He was born in Roswell. Okay, I said, okay. And he died in an aviation accident in Monterey. I've never been to Monterey. I've been all over to California. Break it through about the spirit. Jim does have to. I want to see it. Okay. There's a disadvantages from doing talks on iPad versus phone, all of them, for what was done. Jim was an asset, but it did give him some break on through. It's about the spirit. Jim does have to require. He can't get. Hey, Tennessee, Kentucky, Bigfoot. Do you listen to Sloan Bella? I would invite her to my True Seeking, and she might even find it, because she loves to hike, and so if I get her to she could go hike these peaks. I could maybe even find a local guide for her that knows the land and tell her that, because she's connected to spirit, right? But she's taught me so much about the spiritual, I understand ever since I was a little kid that I always understand that it happens in the spiritual world before it happens on the earthly plane. That's why they try to create fear by getting everybody scared so that they're not going to come together, and because our power is stronger when it's focused. The only reason why the military has won is because they paid people off to do their evil bidding, like me, that were desperate to, take care of somebody that they loved that can't take care of themselves. Mom almost went into the military. She was too short. Plus, she had club feet. She couldn't, but she tried. And then she didn't want to sign us over either. She fought too hard to keep us. She didn't want to give us up. Oh, crap. It's my 55th maintainer hat. Gen X, man. I know people, they talk about how well they age. I'm like, yeah, you're doing a great job there, Skippy. And then I tell them I'm gonna be 52 in April, and they're like, shut the fuck up. I'm like, what? Everybody looks young like this and they're old. What's your problem? It's all that good, clean living. I did my blood pressure the other day. It was 111/69. Because I learned that when I could get all excited and then I'd play a game to see how fast I could calm myself down. So, it's about regulation, Regulation. See, military people They create regulations because they can't regulate their feelings and emotions in themselves. I teach people how to regulate your emotions, and then you don't need any agency. You don't need any police. You don't need anybody to protect you from yourself. And they hate me for that. 55th MXS. That's where Looking Glass was. But Frank says, oh, and that, it's so funny. Frank, quite frankly, had that one lady on it. What's her name? I think cholesterol is just built up from people not pumping the blood through their heart. Just from being complacent. How many people have terrible, terrible health issues because they just sat there and didn't do anything to make their health any better? I'm trying not to give, I think, but Alzheimer's is like heavy metals in your brain. That's why I'm trying to get these taken out. It makes people sensitive. Think about it. I have I'm cold all the time. Why? Because they blast the world with refrigerant and then they put heavy metals in us. I love avocados. I love them. Best avocado I ever had was outside of Tulum, Mexico, where the pyramids are. When I went back in 2011, we went to this little taco stand and I put this avocado in my mouth and I was like, I have never I was probably, how old was I then? I was 39. Wasn't 40 yet. It's a long time ago. And I was like, this is the creamiest, most wonderful, delightful, delicious avocado. And but it ruined every other avocado for me ever since then. Because every time I bite into an avocado, there's a little part of my brain that thinks, wouldn't that be wonderful? If this avocado tasted like that avocado, and then I bite into it, and then there's that little tinge of, aww. So sad. Scorpio moon, Cancer rising, Aries sun. I love avocados though. Good fat. Strawberries in California. But that is a bad part of my program too, because okay, I learned a long time ago, that's why I have to keep an even keel. For as much as I love something, like I found that if I get so excited about something, in a very short period of time, something equally awful will happen. And Mom went on a date and took me and brother with her to the strawberry festival out in Ono, out in California. And it was just, I remember it was the same thing. The strawberry, like tasting that strawberry, I was like, it tastes like artificial strawberry flavor. It was so delectable. And then we went home and that dude drank too much that took Mom on a date. And Mom put me and brother in bed. They were watching TV. I woke up because there was just a kitchen on the other side. It wasn't even a wall. It was just a cutout where they put plants and stuff. So the kitchen was right there. Dude had Mom pinned up against the fridge doing whatever he wanted. So that was so there's like and I tried to get up to go help her because I was always I'm always the helper. When a woman's in trouble, you help, because I was the woman that's been in trouble. And my brother is always the coward, and he grabbed my arm and said, just lay back down and pretend like you're asleep. And that's when I began to see that he was only pretending to be a man. And then I could go out in the world and I could see, oh, he's like my brother. He's doing that thing where he's pretending like he's a man, but he puts women in harm's way because he won't defend them. And so I became this support staff. And then they kept putting shots in me and they kept trying to make me mean, and stuff kept happening that should have turned my heart to stone cold. I should be fucking Medusa. I should be casting the masculine energy to stone, but what I did is I rectified that I am the masculine energy, and so whenever I go out there and I fight against it, I'm only fighting against myself. And that's counterproductive, so I realized when I recognized that those feelings I feel, anger, they're always a derivative of fear. It's a frequency, and whenever I feel them, I change my program. I'm not scared. I'm excited. So I'm going to use all this excitement. I'm going to go over there. I'm going to pick up my 20-pound little dumbbells. And I'm going to do sets of them 100 times, 3 times, until I forget what I'm all excited about. And then, okay, now I used all of that. I worked all the tension through my body, any animosity that I might have gathered from any thoughts I had as I was resting through the night, so that I can pump all that toxicity out, brush my teeth, rinse my teeth, so that I can start my day and go out and give people stickers, because straight people like rainbows too. And share them with people, because that's who I am and what I am. And people that will not share themselves with you, just don't pay them no mind. They don't want to connect because they have no soul, they have no spirit, they have nothing to connect to. I had a dream, Lord. Yeah. And these are, now consider this. Consider that time that you had that dream. That dream is still going on. That fight has been transpiring the whole time while you're living your life. So if it was 5 years ago, there's still that timeline that you were fighting yourself. So when you're tired, go into that space and convince yourself to sit in peace. Isn't that dope? That's how I think about stuff. Sit in peace. That's why every time that they bring up some bullshit military conflict over there, every single time, it's because groups of men with ideas of grandeur and inferiority complexes that are conflicted within themselves, between their masculine energy and their feminine energy, they gather in groups and they take that collective inferiority energy and then they put it on somebody that is lesser than them. And that is what America does. And that is why I am sorry for my service. That's about all I got for now. Thanks for hanging out. I might be back later. I'm a chatty Cathy today, I can already tell. Mom's going to be getting up soon, so I need to put my focus and intention on her well-being. She likes my talks. You like my talks, Mom?
Yes.
She likes it. She said, you're a very eloquent speaker sometimes. Mom's brilliant. So that's what I'm trying to do, is find other brilliant people so we can gather. And I want to learn how to use an excavator so I can get an excavator and then go out in the community and find people that need help moving dirt. Thank you for that. I appreciate you, Tennessee, Kentucky, Bigfoot, and I will see you in the chats. Have a rad day. Peace.